She sat in the restaurant, sipping her juice while glancing around the place with boredom, waiting for her husband who was running late. Sarah, as usual, he leaves me and runs off for his important business. She spoke with a sigh of frustration after he had suddenly left when he received a call from his men in the mafia. She suddenly looked up when he finally entered the restaurant after being gone for a full half-hour. Sarah, finally you're here, Mr. John. Were you planning to spend the entire day with your men instead? Him, darling, you know the nature of my work and its troubles. I never meant to leave my flower all alone. He spoke as he gently held her hand, kissing it tenderly. She sighed with a soft smile, her anger quickly fading thanks to that small, loving gesture that made her heart melt and forget her irritation. Sarah, so tell me, love, what were you doing? Him. I was talking to one of my men about our last mission. He told me someone was watching them, so I gave them the necessary orders to avoid trouble and distract the observer until they disappear from his sight. She nodded while quietly eating her food, and he looked at her with concern. Him. You seem upset. Are you all right, darling? Did I say something wrong? Sarah. No, it's just, I worry about you, love. Please take care of yourself. For my sake. She sighed, and he smiled, kissing her hand again. Him. I promise I will, my flower. But the most important thing for me is to protect you first. An hour passed, and they got into their car and headed home. Sarah kept looking at her husband, who from time to time would steal glances at her, his eyes filled with love and sleepiness. She smiled softly, watching the man who never held back from showing his love, just like she did. Suddenly, as if time froze around them and all their happiness vanished, the sound of gunfire shattered the moment. He quickly pulled his wife toward him, using his body as a shield to protect her. But it was already too late. The black car from which their enemies had opened fire sped away as he pulled over to the side of the road, shocked by what had just happened, still holding his wife tightly. But then he noticed something strange. She was quiet, her body heavy in his arms. Him. Sarah, Sarah, my love, can you hear me? He spoke, looking at her face, and froze when he saw the blood on his shirt, realizing that a bullet had pierced her abdomen. Suddenly, his phone rang, but he ignored it, focusing solely on his wife's health. Sarah slowly opened her eyes, looking up at him with a weak smile. Sarah, love, it hurts so much. He placed his phone down and once again looked at his wounded wife with tears in his eyes. Him. The ambulance is on its way, my sweet. Hang in there, darling. As minutes ticked by, the sound of sirens approached, and the paramedics quickly took Sarah from his shaky arms. He stood there, watching in horror as she was taken away to the ambulance. He followed them into the vehicle, holding her hand tightly even as they started taking her vitals, as the ambulance raced away to the hospital. Minutes later, they arrive at the hospital, and Sarah was quickly taken away to the operating room, leaving him alone at the waiting area, his thoughts a whirlwind of fear and worry. He sat there, fidgeting in his seat, unable to stay still. His mind replayed the moments leading up to the attack, and he couldn't shake off the feeling that he should have been more vigilant. Him? I should have been more careful. I should have taken every possible precaution. He looked down at his bloody hands, his heart filled with guilt and anger. Time seemed to move at a snail's pace as he waited for any news about his wife. It felt like an eternity before a doctor finally entered the waiting room, his face grave. The doctor approached him, and the words he said shattered his world all over again. Mr. John, the surgery went smoothly, but your wife remains in a critical condition. The bullet pierced her left lung, and the damage was severe. We managed to stabilize her, but her condition is still critical. She needs constant monitoring and careful observation. He listened to every word, his heart sinking with each passing moment. As he entered the hospital room, he saw his wife lying in the white hospital bed, looking so fragile and vulnerable. Her eyes slowly opened and a weak smile formed on her face when she saw him. Love, you're here. He quickly rushed to her side, taking her hand and sitting on the edge of the bed. He couldn't hold back the tears that streamed down his face, seeing her pale and fragile in this cold hospital bed. Him, my love, my precious flower. How are you feeling? Sarah, it hurts so much. He gently caressed her face, his thumb tracing the lines of her cheek gently. He hated seeing her in pain, hated seeing the fear in her eyes. Him, it's okay. You're strong. You'll recover. Just focus on getting better. She nodded weakly, her hand subconsciously gripping his, seeking comfort and strength from his presence. Sarah, will I be all right? I'm so scared. He took her hand in both of his, bringing it to his lips and kissing it tenderly. Him, you will be. I promise you, my love. I won't let anything happen to you. You'll heal, and we'll be together again like before. She smiled weakly, the fear in her eyes slowly fading away as she believed in his words. They sat in silence for a while, the beeping of the machines and the sounds of the hospital blending into the background as they held each other's hands tightly. Him, I have to make a phone call, okay? I promise I won't take long. She nodded, and he reluctantly let go of her hand, leaving her side and stepping out of the room. Once outside, he whipped out his phone from his pocket and dialed a number, his expression turning stern. The person on the other line picked up immediately. Man, what happened? The man's voice was calm and collected, as if he had been patiently waiting for this call. Him, it was a mistake. My wife was shot. She's in critical condition. They barely saved her. There was a moment of silence on the other line, and then the man's voice came through again, this time with a stern edge. Man, a mistake? You're telling me that your wife got shot because of a mistake? His voice was tinged with disapproval and a touch of frustration. Him, yes, a mistake. Mistakes happen in the business. You know that. He ran his hand through his hair, his frustration and anger flaring, mixed with the worry for his wife's condition. I know, but this is different, John. Your wife isn't involved in this. You should have been more careful. There was a warning in his tone, a reminder of the consequences of his negligence. Him, you think I don't know that? He snapped, his voice rising. His fear and guilt were getting the better of him.